Here is my 2013 Honda PCX150. A great little bike. And just going to do a quick walk around here. So, front of the bike, this is your instrument cluster here. Turn on the bike. You got your check engine light, your high beam indicator when that is on. Turn signals, your odometer there, and your fuel reading. This isn't very reliable, as I'll talk about later. And it's always funny that this bike says it goes up to 100 miles an hour. Realistically, you're not going to ever get past that 70-mile mark. You can easily obtain 55, sometimes go up to 60, depending on the terrain and how much wind. And you can do those speeds pretty realistically. As I ride this bike in a bit and do the in-depth review, you'll see its performance, the speeds and passing power that you can obtain with this bike. Before delving into this review, just want to say I've done several comparisons and reviews on this bike and compared it to my other two bikes, my Honda CBR500r and my Yamaha FZ07, both of which are my other motorcycles. So I'll tell you in those videos whether or not a scooter is a better fit for you or if you should get a motorcycle instead. As you can see here, it's in pretty good condition. Against the 2013, I'm the second owner, but the first owner only rode it about 70 miles and then sold it. That is your kill switch, your ignition. You just need to hold your brakes when you do that. Your horn, turn signals, high beam, low beam, nothing else over here. Your brakes. What I like about the handlebars are kind of neat how they go up like that. It allows me to easily put a GPS holder right there, which I can't do on my motorcycles, and a GoPro holder here as well. Your turn signals there, and your front lights. This is a pretty interesting style from the front. It looks pretty cool. Makes the bike look a lot larger than it is. Not sure where that ding over there came from. Maybe it's been there for when I got it from the owner. I can't even remember now. I know there were some issues with it, or minor scrapes on it, so that might have been one of them. Not sure. This side panel here needs to be put back in, and I'll do that later, but I did have a minor, not so minor, but as you can see, a crash, which I've actually never really talked about on this channel. I'll probably need to do a video on that, but I managed to get, long story short, I was going about 45 and then low-sided because of an idiot driver that sideswiped me. Everything still works, and this just popped out a little bit. Actually, this just needs to go back there, and that's fine. But the lights just folded in, as they're designed to do. And this took a good amount of... It scraped a bit, but it's fine. Just a little touch-up paint will do fine on that. And you can see where it also fell on the side there. Going to the rear now. Your turn signals and then your light. This does look a little weird, but it's fine. The muffler I'm pretty pleased with. It doesn't look nasty by any means. It actually fits with the bike pretty well. And rear passenger pegs, they pop out. Sitting on the bike, you're either going to have your legs against that flooring or flat on the ground, depending on what you prefer. I prefer going like this, and it makes you feel like you have more control of the bike. It's a more controlled feel, and it feels a little sportier. If you need to tuck in a little more because of wind, you can tuck your knees in like that at that angle, and it's fine. Fuel is there. You just need to have this in the off position. So that was for seat. You can see my seat in there. My grating. Just some basic... I just keep so much junk in here, but you can see how deep it is. So this part right here folds up because the bike underneath it is angled downwards. So you don't have a lot of space there, but you can have things partitioned off. And then you have your big cubby down here. Your toolkit that comes with the bike. I just have some extra water, and a GPS holder in there when I use it. Don't put a helmet in here, but you could. I don't think you can fit a full face helmet in here though. I always keep this, which is what you loop your helmet to, just always on there. It clips to the side. Fuel just needs a bit of a harder push to get it. And turn it, and then you got your, I think it's a 1.2 gallon tank there. They're not very big. That's one of the cons of it. Tires are pretty narrow. It's much thinner than my motorcycle, and then you got fatter ones in the back here. Side stand and your rear stand there. So that was the walk around of the bike, and I'll go ahead and start the review. Beautiful day here. I've owned this bike for over a year now. Exactly how long I don't know, but I've been riding it long enough and on an almost daily basis that I think I'm finally ready to do an in-depth review of this bike. And of course there's a ton of traffic. Just doing what I did there is reason number one why I love this bike so much. But just to give you a quick background if you're new to the channel, I also have a Honda CBR500r motorcycle and a Yamaha FZ07 motorcycle. Before getting this bike, I actually had a, what was it? A Yamaha Zuma 50cc. Ooh, look at them go. So a 50cc scooter, that's what I started on before anything else. And that was maybe a year and a half ago, 2 years ago. So that's when the very first time I started riding. But what I'm specifically going to talk about are this Honda PCX150, its pros and cons, and comparing it to other similar scooters and why I decided to get this one over that. You know what? Look at this. Let's go around the other way. Rush hour now. Teachers, students, they all want to go home. A ball sack. So first thing, let's talk about riding comfort. Like most scooters, you're going to have a very upright seating position. I'm comfortable on this bike. I have ridden with two people on this bike, and I have ridden on the back of this bike. Now, of course, because it is only a 150cc scooter, your power is going to be noticeably less once you get that passenger on the back. That's a nice bike. Damn it, I have to deal with this crap here as well. Fuck, thought I was being smart. So you got a really nice plush seat. I try not to leave the bike in the rain when I can. I usually try to have a cover, but there have been occasions where it has rained unexpectedly. Look at that, Paul. And as a result, it's been rained on without any protection. Seat is in fine condition. The instrument gauge up here doesn't look like it's been damaged or anything. And I mean, the bike is designed with that in mind. Any maybe older bikes or ones with not as good quality, build quality, water seeping through, and with time that can lead to rust or damage and maybe damaged seats and things like that. Here again, very comfortable and upright. If you've researched this bike or sat on it, it's got a nice butt support that you got your butt against when you're a passenger. And that's kind of the division between where this seat, the front passenger seat, meets with the rear passenger seat. So it kind of arches upwards a little bit. You're not sliding on the seat at all. I should have stopped for her. That's my bad. Didn't see her. And because I usually always have a relatively heavy backpack on, lower my shoulder straps a bit, and it rests the bottom of the backpack rests comfortably on the rear passenger seat. Other things I really like about the bike, underseat storage, and I've talked about that a number of times in previous videos, how that is a huge plus. Can you see it? That side strap there. I always leave that on the side. I don't even bother unbuckling it. Just easily loop my helmet onto it when I park the bike, and it works well. Sticking with pros here, even at a 150cc scooter, as a 150cc scooter, you got plenty of pull and excellent acceleration. I'd say up to maybe 45 miles an hour. The bike does perfectly well in all riding conditions, even up a hill, to about 55 miles an hour. This bike will go maybe 62, but realistically, I mean, you're going to be able to comfortably accelerate this bike in all conditions for the most part, up to about 55 miles an hour, which again, for most of my commuting and perhaps most of your commuting, this will be the perfect bike. So in all situations when I'm commuting from school to work, with roads that are usually no more than 45, even with the roads that are 55, I'm usually the fastest guy on there, and I'm passing other people on this bike with no problem, no issues there. I was considering getting between this bike and the 250, which I think is called the Forza, or a 300. They have a 300 and 250, and maybe something else. Can't remember. I did the research a long time ago before deciding on that. But those bikes, I mean, once you get up into those price ranges, I mean, you definitely might as well get a motorcycle. It is not economical at all, in my opinion, to get those scooters. It was really surprising to me when I was first getting into scooters and motorcycles that scooters don't offer good value in comparison to a motorcycle. These new and even used, I mean, they retain their value quite well, which is good. So if you're just buying this and planning on selling it, it's going to hold its value extremely well. Specifically with the the PCX150, rarity, if you will. Like, it took me a couple months before I found these on the market used, and they go fast. Excellent demand for them, which means you can get your money's worth for this. I had 2 of these before, and when I sold the second one, I may have actually turned a bit of a profit on there. I don't really remember. I think I got 2 for $3,000, and I sold that one for $1,800 or $1,900. I mean, maybe I broke even, but still, that's great. Think about a car. What car can you do that with, realistically? So we were talking about power. Yes, plenty of power. A 150cc scooter is enough for most of my commuting. I need the motorcycle for a more fun and enjoyable experience. And while it'd be cool to have that additional power from like the 250 or 300cc scooter, once you get in that range, you might as well just get a motorcycle. Oh, they just got married. Congrats, guys. Oh, Wendy's always smells lovely. So bad for you. But here's acceleration full throttle. Catching up quickly. The other really important thing that I liked about this scooter and why I got it over other 150cc scooters, 2 very important reasons that made this the clear winner for me. Actually, let's say 3. So availability, very easy one. Other maybe more unique, other good value scooters were either not available in my market, new or used. They weren't available for as good of a value price. So it made obtaining this bike more easy than the others. On top of that, let's pass here. See, here we are going 50. I'm passing people. Keeping up with the flow of traffic, no worries, no issues. Accelerating still up to 60. Even when you got wind going on you, just going back to power really quick, still fine. So this was a good value motorcycle. Honda, it's reliable. Yes, this is made in Thailand and not Japan, but I haven't had any issues with it or noticed any build quality concerns. This is just an easy bike that you buy. You have to do just the basic maintenance on it, and you're good to go. Styling wise, this also made it unique compared to other 150cc scooters. This was one of the more sporty looking scooters, and from the front you can definitely mistake it for a motorcycle, and I've had people tell me that, like, oh, from the front it just looks like a smaller motorcycle. Look at me go. So again, you got the reliability of Honda, the excellent styling, good underseat storage, comfortable seats. Oh, the other big thing, excellent fuel economy. This has one of the best fuel economy ratings of any scooter, of any two-wheeled vehicle. This gets 100 miles per gallon best. I mean, probably realistically closer to 80 to 95, something like that, depending on how hard you pin the bike. And the speeds are going out. So if you're frequently going, maxing the bike out like 62, that's going to obviously hurt your fuel economy. When you're not doing that though, if you're just cruising along like this at 45, this is where you'll get closer to that 100 miles per gallon mark. Now this bike is not perfect. No, it is not the cheapest 150cc scooter. There are cheaper 150cc scooters. You can get cheap ones offline from third-party sites, no-name scooters as I call them, or even more no-name scooters like Chinese ones like Tao Tao and I can't remember what else. Those are going to be cheaper, but I don't know how well the reliability is, if you can trust their warranties, or if they even come with good enough warranties. So that was a concern, and obviously I don't want a bike to break down on me. I heard mixed reviews on those, so I avoided them. Again, this is the cheapest 150cc scooter, and once you start looking in the used market for motorcycles, if you go further enough in year and condition, you can get a cheap one, a cheap motorcycle for about $2,000, say. Maybe like an old Ninja 250 or 300 even. There is that side of the value. I mean, in terms of value of scooters, it's fine, but value compared to motorcycles, it's a little pricey. It is an investment here with this bike. One thing I don't like about this bike, I don't think the brakes are very good. They're squishy, and I think the way they engage, it's soft, 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 and then to really engage, you gotta pull hard, and then pull too hard again, you'll lock up the brakes. That has almost messed me up a couple times. I've intentionally, just for fun, when I was going like this, made the bike skid a bit and burn some rubber. That was fun, but you don't want that to accidentally happen and to be caught off guard, or to press too hard and to get it to lock up. I wish this bike did have ABS. Die-hard motorcycle riders, for the most part, will be like, oh no, I have to have ABS on, or I don't want ABS. People seem to be torn between the two. I myself, hey, I don't mind the extra safety. I'm going to learn how to apply my brakes properly, but at the same time, I want to have ABS just to be on the safe side. Yeah, I just feel with my motorcycles, the brakes are a lot better. The mirrors are all right. They're fine. They did take some adjustment and getting used to. I might argue that these are better than the ones on my Honda CBR500r, but not as good as the ones on my Yamaha FZ07. Something else, wind deflection, this isn't the best. I mean, the windshield only goes to about there. When I first got it, for like the first couple times riding, especially on windy days, I was considering buying an aftermarket windshield for it. Because of the fact that when you're on a motorcycle, you're tucked down more. So this is helping wind go above your helmet more easily. And I would have preferred for it to be higher. So wind deflection isn't that great. When you're tucked in here like this, wind deflection is pretty good for keeping wind off your knees and legs, and I guess your lower torso for the most part. Sticking with wind though, not really a con so much, but just because this is a lighter scooter, when it comes to windy days, you are going to feel it around. I have been thrown around in wind, and if I'm not careful, I could have been led off. I mean, I'm not that heavy of a rider, even with all my gear in my backpack and the bike. Even though fuel economy is great, one thing that isn't so great is the size of the tank. I think it's only like 1.2 gallons, maybe 2, something pretty small. Even though this gets great fuel economy, you don't have that great of a tank, and I would have liked for them to add a larger tank. You do have plenty of compartments. I didn't go over that, but tight, tight, turn, tight, tight, turn, tight, tight. Tight, tight, turn, tight, tight, turn, tight, tight, turn. Turn, oh shit. Too tight of a turn. So that's actually a con right there. You can't lean as well with like a motorcycle. I wonder what got caught. I think it was that just there, or maybe it was the back one. But I didn't have an issue pulling out of that. But you can't go as sporty as you want with this compared to with a motorcycle and lean as much as you want. But again, you're not really expected to do that with this scooter. I should have not turned into this lane. I should have turned wider. One more con. We were talking about fuel economy a while ago, and again, great. The tank is small. Not great. Another thing that's not so great, so I've been riding a few days. I filled this up maybe 3 days ago, 4 days ago. So I've been riding since then, and still says I'm on a full tank. Obviously I'm not. It's going to drop down probably tomorrow 1 bar, and then in that day, probably when I go home doing that same exact commute you just saw me do right now, it'll drop an additional 2. I'm not sure if this is something specific with my bike. This fuel gauge is not very reliable. I've had a number of rides where I would start off with a full tank of gas, and then midway through my ride, I decide to look down. Oh, what do you know? I've already gone through a half a tank of gas. Look down a few moments later. Uh-oh, I'm already on flashing that it's warning me that I'm low on fuel. Now, I've never had a situation where I've run out of fuel with this bike. So again, let's conclude this. This is an excellent scooter, and I would argue the best 150cc scooter in general for most people, especially due to it being widely available here. If you can get this for a good deal, for an excellent price, I'd say maybe around the 1500 mark used, then it's an excellent value. If you can go even lower, I'd say definitely don't hesitate on it. Go for it. I've put over 3,000 miles on this bike. I bought it when it had like 70 maybe. The person did not put more than 100 miles on this bike when I bought it from them. So I put more than 3,000 miles on the bike myself and had it for a little less than, or a little more than a year. I ride it at least 3 times a week, probably. I try to go to my motorcycle when I can on better days. But again, haven't had any issues with it. The styling looks extremely good compared to other scooters. It looks very good as well. Some people from the front and from the back will mistake this for a motorcycle if that's something you care about, which is I like. And even from the side, it doesn't look that bad. It's a fun little bike to be on, and I always say go get this over a Grom just because it's a more practical thing, and you can still have fun on it, and toss it around and things like that. The Grom, yes, is going to have a sportier ride, but this is a more economical and convenient bike in my opinion. And you got the underseat storage, which you can't really beat, and probably better fuel economy. Comfortable seat, comfortable riding. It absorbs bumps quite well. Sometimes on larger bumps or train tracks, I will step up just a little bit just to get higher off. I mean, these tires aren't that incredibly fat, especially compared to my bikes, my motorcycles, so it's not going to absorb them as well, but it's still pretty good. Great fuel economy. I do wish it had a larger fuel tank. I also wish the fuel indicator was more reliable. I think they may have gone over to a more digital system over here, like on my CBR500r and FZ07, to get more information out of it. It'd be nice if it had a like temperature reading for both the engine and for outside. That'd be nice. I do wish maybe it would take away from the styling a bit, but if the front windshield was a bit higher up or angled in a way that allowed for better wind deflection, because I will say on windier days I do wish it had better wind deflection. Mirrors are fine, nothing to write home about. They're not the worst, they're all right. Could be better, I guess. There aren't a lot of big major things to hate on from this bike. I mean, that's the biggest takeaway from this review here. For most of your commuting, this is going to be perfect, like I always say. Yeah, thanks lady for not freaking me out. There are times you will want more. I mean, especially you're not going to take this on the highway. Yeah, again, that's not what you're expecting from this kind of scooter. If you want something that can do that, you're going to lose out on a lot of the perks that you get from this smaller, lighter bike. The fuel economy, possibly styling, it's not going to feel as applicable and sporty. And again, if you want something like that, that's where you get a motorcycle. If you're doing commuting like this is where you get a scooter. Does this bike have room to improve? Yes, of course, like any bike. And I want to be sure to nitpick as much as I can, so I can give you an unbiased review. This is not a perfect bike, of course not. No bike is perfect. And it's important to know its shortcomings as well. But overall, I think this is the best scooter you can get that's 150cc. If the Forza 200 or 250 or 300, whatever it's called, if that was more affordable, I would have gotten that over this. If it was the same price, obviously I would have gotten that over this. Styling is just as good, if not better, and you got more top-end power. So it just builds on top of this. But aside from that, guys, that's my review for the PCX150, a 2013 model. Up till 2014, nothing major has changed except for the instrument cluster. It changed a bit, and maybe they added a bit of a larger fuel tank, but not really anything worth upgrading from this to. Hopefully this review was helpful in your decision to decide if this is the right scooter for you, or if a scooter is right for you. I do have other videos that will be very helpful, scooter related, motorcycle related, on the channel. Check those out. I do several comparisons between this scooter and, oh, it finally dropped, and my other bikes, so check those out as well, guys. Until next time, peace.